There's no way it's already been a year. I am so old. 2 years ago in a January State of Play, we got the announcement of a Sonic Generations remaster. It didn't look too interesting or crazy at first. Then Shadow flies onto the screen and we get a glimpse at some of the most hype-looking moments in any Sonic game. The game looked to be truly next-gen, amazing-looking animation backed by an insane music track. We got a glimpse of Space Colony Arc, Radical Highway, and a Bio-Lizard boss fight. However, there wasn't too much gameplay. After that, we got the reveal of the title, Sonic X Shadow Generations. That's gotta be a placeholder title, right? All we knew for the next few months was that it was coming in the fall, and we just had to wait all the way up until Summer Games Fest. There we got a more in-depth look at the Shadow Generations portion. We got a new trailer showing off Rail Canyon and Kingdom Valley, coming back for the first time in years. It was one of the most hyped trailers ever. We also got to see the first full level of the game, and it looked amazing. Fully 3D, amazing in-level cutscenes, multiple split paths, and fun and creative gimmicks. It looked to be the full package. From there we kept getting trailer after trailer, looking better and better each time. It definitely looked to be my game of the year, and one of the best games of all time. And on top of that, we would be getting a Sonic Generations remaster thrown in there too. I was counting down the days until October 25th, until my pre-order came. Even though my pre-order came 5 days late, at least I got to play the game. And I loved it. I played it a ton. It became one of my favorite games. However, recently, reception has turned around on this game, like most Sonic games after a while. People started noticing more and more issues surrounding the level design. However, I'm here to say this game is still amazing, and this video will explain exactly why.
All hail Shadow, heroes rise again, obliterating everything that's not your friend. Nothing can stop you now, no ghost to bring you down. There's nothing left to lose, you win.
Before we get into the Shadow Generations portion, I wanted to briefly talk about the Sonic Generations remaster. This is definitely the best way to play Generations. We have increased resolution and frame rates, if you're on console, and on top of that some extra content with collectible chow, the statues in the collection room no longer requiring the codes, there's a red star ring tracker, just a bunch of quality of life things to make this the best version to go for. However, there are three main problems. For one, in the jukebox, the song Right There, Right On from Sonic Rush is replaced with Westopolis. I think the song was removed for copyright trouble, but if they were going to replace it with a better song. Then, the rewritten cutscenes. I think people definitely overreacted about the changes because they're not as bad as people made them out to be. However, I'd say it's overall inferior to the original, mainly because the cutscenes weren't reanimated for the new dialogue. Lastly, they didn't include the 3DS version of Generations. For those who don't know, there was a 3DS version of Generations that had a completely different gameplay style and different levels. While the 3DS version is easily worse in every way, it still would be a nice inclusion for preservation's sake, because the 3DS version is never going to come back otherwise. However, while most of this section was just complaining, this truly is the best way to play Generations, and is definitely one of the best Sonic remasters. Before we get into the game's main story, I just wanted to talk about the prologue, Shadow Generations Dark Beginnings. It is one of the best animations I have ever watched. The animation style is beautiful. It looks better than any other Sonic promotional animation we've gotten by a long shot. The lighting is beautiful, the animation is fluent, vibrant, and really pops. The plot itself is that Shadow dreams that Black Doom has returned to the Ark. From there he goes to an Eggman base where he meets up with Omega and Rouge. From there, going to a gun base and stealing a rocket to book it to space where the main plot of the game starts. However, it goes deeper than that. First, we get to see moments of Shadow and Maria interacting before the whole Ark incident. These scenes are absolutely amazing and gets me to feel something in my cold, empty heart. It also makes it so that Maria is now less of a plot device and more of an actual character, unlike she was in SA2. We also get these amazing action sequences. Sequences like these prove that this art style deserves its own TV show or movie. They look like absolute perfection and look like they were made with absolute passion and heart. Also, I can't move on without talking about the amazing vocal theme that plays during the third part. The song is called Without You, and it is absolutely peak. I cannot describe to you how good the song is, so I'll just play it for a few seconds. Then the epilogue to the prologue, yeah I know, convoluted, is amazing. It's a short 52-second animation showing Shadow and Maria. It's absolutely peak. The only problem is that it's only accessible to PlayStation users, which, that's no good. Moving on to the actual story itself, it's also amazing. The story involves Black Doom returning to keep sending Shadow to Radical Highway. The purpose of this is to try and get Shadow to turn evil and turn him into the ultimate warrior for the Black Arms. While this is happening, Shadow has to get painful mutations and relive his past traumas so he can stop Black Doom and save the world. It's a really interesting story that works for a shorter game. While we also get to see Maria and Gerald Robotnik come back, and seeing them here is absolutely amazing. Getting to be able to interact with characters we only get to hear about is absolutely awesome. Also, Shadow's character is on point. He isn't just a one-dimensional edgelord like he is in something like Boom or Forces. He actually has thoughts and feelings and can show actual emotion, with him smiling at some points and even crying at the end of the game when he loses Maria again. The other characters and boss characters are written well and also really fit Shadow's version of White Space. However, the story doesn't mean anything if the gameplay isn't good. Shadow Generations gameplay is on point. Shadow is smooth as butter to control. It's mostly built off the control of Sonic Frontiers, meaning Shadow is definitely slower than normal. However, this means much more control than any other Boost game. While him being slower can be annoying, I don't mind it personally because the level design is built around it. However, Shadow isn't just a character swap of Sonic, he actually has unique abilities. First, he has the Chaos Control. Enemies no longer fill up the boost gauge, instead it fills up your Chaos Control meter. This allows Shadow to stop time, which allows him to freeze enemies, platforms, and other stage hazards. It also refills your boost meter. However, Chaos Control can also stop the timer, making it insanely helpful for speedruns. The only problem with Chaos Control is that it stops the timer for 5 seconds, but it actually stops the timer for 6 seconds, so I have no clue how that slipped through the cracks, but whatever. However, we don't just have Chaos Control, we also have access to the Doom powers. These are mutations that Shadow gains gradually throughout the game, which help with combat or traversal. First is the Doom Spear, which can be used to lock on to targets and fire at them. It can be used to activate targets or stun enemies. Next is the Doom Blast, which allows you to kick up a black-armed soldier into the air and send them flying. Then you teleport to the enemy. It is very fun to use and can be really useful for speedrun skips, like skipping around the castle in Kingdom Valley. Next is the Doom Surf, which allows you to surf on top of water. It is very fun to use, but is very situational, since obviously you need water. Next is Doom's Morph, which turns you into a pure ball of chaos, which allows you to swing from orbs and attach to walls. While it's a really fun ability, it's barely utilized in the stages, which is really a shame. Lastly is the Doom Wing. This ability allows you to fly over every obstacle, but is tied to the boost meter. If you run out of boost, you can't fly, but if you touch the ground again, you instantly regain your boost. Also, you need 50 rings to activate it, and you're constantly losing rings. If you run out of rings, you can't use the wings anymore. It's basically the game's super form. It's really fun to use, but it can be very game-breaking. The Doom powers enhance the level design and are definitely power-ups done right. Speaking of the level design, it's absolutely amazing. There are 12 main levels and 4 bosses. Each zone has 2 acts. The first one is fully 3D, and the second one is fully 2D. The only exception to this is Radical Highway, which has 2 fully 3D acts. The levels are Space Colony Arc, Rail Canyon, Kingdom Valley, Sunset Heights, Chaos Island, and Radical Highway. Each and every one of these levels is insanely fun. There's not a single bad level here, but I could go into a little more depth than that. Space Colony Arc is like a fusion between every Space Colony level. It has the rails and open scenery of Final Rush, has the indoor sections of Crazy Gadget, and the rotating pillars of Final Chase. The first act also has a section where Shadow is sent to the Doom Zone by Black Doom, which is a really cool set piece. However, it can get tiring on repeat playthroughs, especially if you're trying to speedrun. However, aside from that, the level design in the Doom Zone also kinda drops off a cliff, and that's the problem with the Doom Zone in general. While some of them can be really good, like the one in Sunset Heights, they generally don't have as good of level design as they do in the original stages, so it just makes you not want to be sent there, which really is not what you want when you're being sent to a new location. However, the cinematics in this first level are absolutely peak. Shadow using a chaos control and kicking away a missile, or Shadow flying next to a Black Doom and then landing on a building is amazing. The second act is much more focused than the first, with a lot less cinematics, and is definitely a really fun stage. The level design in both stages is pretty good. Next is Rail Canyon. Rail Canyon is definitely the weakest of the stages. While it has a lot of cool and unique set ideas, or set pieces, rails are just not as interesting as they were in the past. And you know I'm not being biased, because Heroes is my favorite game of all time. However, the Radical Highway section in this one is way better than the one in Space Colony R. Next is Kingdom Valley, and both acts are amazing. The first act takes place outside and uses the Doom Surf, and has a ton of cool sections like chasing a black armed soldier along the water, or riding the wind rails above giant gaps. The second act has you venturing inside the castle and using chaos control a lot to stop falling blocks or keep platforms open for you. Sunset Heights is definitely an interesting stage. It comes from Sonic Forces, and that is widely known as the worst boost game. However, Shadow Generations realizes the vision, and then some. The first act has you above ground and gradually making your way underground while dodging Death Egg robot fire. However, the only problem with Act 1 is that you get transferred to Radical Highway again. While it's the best Radical Highway section in the game, it makes no sense why we are Sonic forced to play through Radical Highway so much, especially when it's the only zone with 2 fully 3D acts. However, Act 2 picks up the slack, because it is one of the best stages in the game. Many different alternate paths, nice use of Death Egg robots, and chaos control. Utilizes Doom Surf and Blast, and it's just an amazing stage that's even better if you speedrun it. Next is Chaos Island. This game is from an open world game, so I thought it was really cool how they turned an open zone map into a linear action stage. The first act and the second act are really cool and both make great uses of Doom Warp. Both are great for speedrunning and have great skip opportunities. Act 1 especially has a ton of alternate paths and cool opportunities for shaving off time from your run. Lastly is Radical Highway. I love these stages, Act 2 especially due to it being my favorite level in the game. They're both really good modernizations of the stage. Would have been even better if we didn't have to interrupt other levels to play different forms of Radical Highway so the final reveal isn't that special. The only problem with this stage is, why is there no stage from Shadow the Hedgehog? You know, Shadow's own game? There were so many amazing reps to pick from too. However, it isn't the biggest deal in the world. Okay, it kind of is. But on top of the amazing stages, we also have amazing boss fights as well. We got the Bio-Lizard, Metal Overlord, Methalus, and Devil Doom. Each and every one of these fights are amazing. Starting off with the Bio-Lizard. He is a nice beginning fight. The first phase is pretty similar to SA2 where he spits balls at you and you have to dodge them and grind up his back to damage him. In the second phase, however, he starts mutating, which gives him these huge arms, which he uses to hit the ground and create shockwaves you have to dodge. In the last phase, the Bio-Lizard sends out a giant ball which you chaos control and hit back at him, ending off with one of the sickest cinematics in the entire series. In fact, each boss ends with its own amazing cinematic. All of them are what the kids call aura. Metal Overlord comes next, and he's my favorite fight in the game. You're on the Doom Surf the entire time, and you use it to hit the remains of Final Fortress back into metal, while dodging attacks. Also, the fact that you're in the remains of Final Fortress makes the whole fight even cooler as a Sonic Heroes fanatic. But then, the second phase has you doing the Ganondorf tennis thing, and hitting more trash at him, but in a 2D perspective. The boss ends off with you chaos spearing one of the ships from the Egg Fleet, and using the rubble from it to chaos control and hit it back at metal, ending with the second best cinematic in the game. The next boss is Methalus. This is a character we've been waiting for a while to come back in a mainline game, and this game does Mephiles justice. His dialogue being especially good and really fitting with him starting overconfident until his mask comes off where he sounds absolutely insane. The boss itself is really fun and utilizes Doom Morph and Blast really well. The first phase starts you off with playing the ultimate game of Shadow Tag! Once you do that a few times and kick him into some pillars, you have to use the Doom Morph to climb up some pillars and kill some Mephiles clones. Afterwards, you take down some big creature, use some chaos control, and then do the best cinematic in the entire game. The final boss is Devil Doom. This one is interesting because it utilizes all the transforming Doom powers. The first phase starts off with Metal Overlord's first phase again, just cranked up to 11. Then we have a really fun Doom Morph obstacle course, which if you know what you're doing, you can skip massive chunks of level. And in the last phase, you take off with the Doom Wing, and it is basically a traditional supersonic boss fight at that point. And in the background, we have the best version of All Hail Shadow blasting. Then we end off with another amazing cinematic. All the boss fights in this game are a nice mix between spectacle and substance, except for maybe the Bio-Lizard. The only problem I can really bring up is that the game is way too short. However, to get more mileage out of the game, we got missions for every stage except Radical Highway. These missions can be beating a stage with one ring, or killing a ton of enemies, or a ton of other random objectives. These missions can be really fun and add a ton of replay value to an otherwise short game. Then we have the Open World Hub. It's, I guess, alright. We have a giant open zone hub world connecting all the stages and boss fights together. You can run around and do whatever you want. Find collectibles, unlock art pieces, music, and lore pages. You can practice doing random moves. There are also many different ring challenges that can be really tough to nail and have tight time limits. There's also platforming challenges and other stuff. I think it's cool that they added since they had like no obligation to do any of this, and it's insanely well polished with having like little to no noticeable pop-in. However, I mean, like, Shadow's slow speed makes it not as fun to traverse, but, you know, that's the thing. While this game has a ton of replayability, the main problem is that it's overall a really short game that doesn't have a lot in terms of content. About an hour to 2 hours worth of content. Still, I have like 70 hours on this game, so I guess I can't really talk. Definitely needed a few extra stages though to make it a perfect game. However, leaving me wanting more is probably the best outcome compared to me being disappointed by the content itself. The presentation of this game is absolutely stunning. I've been showing it off the whole video, but the animation of this game is absolutely amazing. They really listened after Sonic Frontiers because that game's animation was not good, to say the least. However, Shadow Generation's animation is fluid, fast, and really fits all of the characters. We are finally out of the era of Sonic having low-budget, bargain bin levels of quality. Every single stage in this game looks absolutely amazing and does a great job improving upon the original location. Space Colony Arc, Sunset Heights, and Radical Highway in particular all look amazing. The lighting is spot on, the backgrounds are incredible, just everything about the game looks amazing. The music in this game is also incredible. The soundtrack is filled with some of the best remixes we've gotten in the Sonic series. All Hail Shadow gets remixed a ton throughout the game, and each and every one of them is amazing. We also get amazing remixes of Space Colony Arc, Rail Canyon, Sunset Heights, and Radical Highway. Also, we get a What I'm Made Of remix, which is amazing. The only song that I would consider kind of mid is Chaos Island Act 2, which sounds pretty off. However, other than that, every other song in the game is amazing. Lastly, I have to talk about the Tokyo DLC. It's trash. It was definitely not worth the $6. It's only one level and 2 challenges. The level itself is alright. The actual gameplay moments are pretty cool, but a lot of the stage is just cutscenes, which is really annoying. It makes it less replayable than any of the other stages. While other stages have cinematics, they don't last nearly as long, and there aren't nearly as many. The first challenge is just homing attack spam, and the second challenge is collecting a ton of rings, but it's actually really fun and one of the best challenges in the game in my opinion. It is better than the main act. The DLC also gives you the movie Shadow skin, which the voice work is played by Keanu Reeves, which is his voice actor in Sonic Movie 3. The skin is really cool in my opinion, but it can only be used in the Tokyo level, which really sucks, because they also gave you like a Terrio skin, for Shadow, and that's playable throughout the entire game. Nowhere else in the game can you use this movie skins, so that really sucks. Also, Keanu Reeves sounds awful. Well, he sounds great in the movie. In this level, it sounds like he's really phoning it in, which is truly a shame. This game is amazing. I'm pretty sure I've conveyed that throughout the entire video, but it's just fun. It's a game through and through that's just good. If you boot up this game, you're just guaranteed to have a fun time. I'm glad this game exists, because not only did I get to replay one of my favorite games of all time, being Sonic Generations, but I also got an amazing follow-up game that really is one of my favorite games of all time, again, and is a masterpiece. I can't think of too many problems with the game, besides it being relatively short and the whole Tokyo DLC. It's one of the best games you can get for $50. Plus, it goes on sale all the time, so you can get it for even cheaper now. I would give Sonic X Shadow Generations, in my humble opinion, a 9 out of 10. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to like and subscribe, and maybe check out my Shadow Generation stage ranking video after this. And yeah, that's kind of all from me. Peace.